With tales in the press of two Manchester brothers getting back together to relive their glory days of 20 years ago, is it true that Erik ten Hag is calling on Gary and Phil Neville to start against Liverpool at Old Trafford this weekend? Probably not, but let's roll with it. Hello everybody, welcome to Friday Night Not Live from the Cloudy Sky Fantasy Football Show, episode 4. And we are 1 week away from the first international break of the season. So, is it time to make some moves in your teams, or is it stand pat and wait for further information when we reach game week 4? We'll have a look at that. But first of all, we had a couple of questions on ownership of players that have changed. So I've put together here all of the players that were over 3% owned in either game week 1 or game week 2, or a combination of both, and then filtered them by the amount of players that had transferred them in or out of their teams over those 2 weeks. So you see at the top there, Livramento in game week 1 only 1.4% owned, and in game week 2 3.8%, so his percentage change was 171.43. Not very big numbers, but a big percentage change. So we'll go down the list. We've got Muniz 90% up, Szoboszlai 30, Robinson 30, Jota 29, Udogie 22, Van Heck 21, Alexander-Arnold 17, Murillo 17 and Eze 15, all in the positive. And in the negatives, Pickford 10, Odegaard 14, Rodri 15, Mykolenko 17, Anderson 24, Branthwaite 25, Bruno Fernandes 26, Kwanzaa 36, Solanke 49 and Barco 83. So what can we learn from that? Well, people have obviously made their teams at the start of the season because that's how the game works. Friday, 16th of August was the deadline. Everybody had to get their team in by then. So what's changed since? So Livramento going up, is that because Trippier didn't play? Muniz going up, is that because somebody else didn't play? Then we can look at those at the bottom. So Barco leaving, I mean, he left the club, so everybody had to move him on, really. Was there a direct swap anywhere? Probably not, because he was very lowly owned, so maybe people had to make 2 moves, or people had a bit of money in the bank. You can see where the likes of Livramento and Van Heck and Robinson were popular. So the next one at the bottom there, Solanke. Well, last weekend we found out he was injured, was unlikely to be back until after the international break. So with Tottenham having at least 2 games where he wasn't going to play, it made sense for people to move him on. And that's where you can see the likes of Muniz, similar position, you can put him in. Szoboszlai, Jota's a bit more expensive but had scored the previous week, so you can understand why people want to put him in. Kwanzaa, I mean, he played the first half of the first game and then was hooked, so a lot of people made a move then, and you can see why Udogie was so high, because that was a move for the first Monday night game. People could actually bring him in there and then. Another one now with Van Heck. He'd played well in the first game week, got passing bonus and clean sheet. He was a similar price to Kwanzaa, so you can understand why people have brought him in. But overall, the numbers aren't very big. I mean, the fan base of this cloud game is fairly high end when it comes to fantasy football sort of talent and know-how. People understand how the Sky game worked. They understand the nuances and the differences with how cloud is going to work. There's not going to be a great deal of changes made, I don't think, on a regular basis. The ownerships are going to stay fairly similar. Certainly over the short term, you will find long term there'll be some changes. The other one that sort of rings a bell on there was Branthwaite. He was injured. Anderson changed clubs. Mykolenko, Everton have been terrible. Rodri is injured. mean, he's still highly owned. You'll see when we get to the slides. He's in a fair amount of teams still, but 15% of those owners have seen him go. And then Eze, he's a good player. Obviously, he's a good price. It doesn't appear to be, I mean, it could be that Solanke to Eze was a popular move. They were playing on the Sunday last week. But it's just something a couple of people asked us what the ownership changes are, and there's a fair few percentage-wise, but it's mainly injuries. You see there that Barco left, Solanke injured, Kwanzaa dropped, Branthwaite injured, Anderson changed clubs, Rodri injured. So they're all the downsides, and it looks like the upsides are sort of direct-ish replacements for those. Maybe not same position, but similar price, and people that have done well previously. So it's just something I thought we'd have a look at. It's something we'll come back to sort of another time, I guess. Right, let's have a look at this team then, see how we're getting on. Not looking the best really, is it? 270th overall, and you can look through that 11, and there's only half of them you would say you'd be happy with, I think. Henderson's not doing anything, Kwanzaa's not doing anything, McAllister, no, Rice, no. And then up front, Muniz and Isak have both been disappointing. So really, we're looking at the likes of Saliba, Romero and Gvardiol, Grameresh and Haaland, 5 out of 11 that we're happy with. So the question is, are we going to make any changes? And is it going to be this week? Well, I've decided Kwanzaa's definitely got to go. Who he goes for is one of two. It's either Van Heck or Robinson. I like Van Heck. I like Brighton's passing. He's normally going to get 4 or 5 to start a game. The one thing I don't like is their fixture this weekend. Robinson got tackles, tears in both the previous games and an assist for Fulham. They haven't kept a clean sheet. They do play Ipswich this week, so they might. So it's going to be one of those two that come in. And McAllister, I think, is going to go as well. I've had a look at a sort of a longer term plan, and I'm fairly confident that I'm going to need a cheap midfielder. So I'm going to plump, I think, for Morsey of Ipswich. He's been in the tackle tiers in both previous game weeks. So I think I'm going to make those changes tomorrow. There might be further ones to come this week as well. I mean, it's a patience game, this, but you can only be patient so long, and sitting at the back, ranked 270th, time to put a plan to action. A few more moves planned over the next 2 or 3 weeks, with a look at mid-October having what I think is going to be my optimal team. But we'll cover that more as we get to it. So changes to come, Kwanzaa out and McAllister out, and it's going to be Robinson in, I think, and Morsey in. So we'll see how we go with that. So then we look and see who we've got fixtures this weekend. So Arsenal against Brighton is the first game, 12:30, and then we've got 5 3:00 games: Brentford v Southampton, Everton v Bournemouth, Ipswich v Fulham, Leicester v Villa, and Nottingham Forest v Wolves. West Ham v Man City is the Saturday 17:30, and then we've got 2 early games on Sunday, which are Chelsea against Crystal Palace and Newcastle against Spurs. So you'll be able to see the lineup for both of those before you make your transfers. And then the Super Sunday game is a proper Super Sunday this week. It's Manchester United against Liverpool. So a few bits and pieces going through on the screen. So on top right is my team, and next to that is some projected lineups of clubs going through in alphabetical order. Next to that on top left, we have points so far, and they're going through in total points and bonus points in rotation. Bottom left, we've got the calendar from the fixture planner going through, and that's alternating with my predictions for the week. We'll go through those in a bit. And then on the bottom right is the overall ownerships, and you can see what we were discussing at the start there. Some of those numbers aren't changing really. So let's have a look at the predicted scores then. So I've gone for Arsenal 2, Brighton 0. I think Arsenal playing well. I think they've won both the previous 2 matches 2-0, so there's no reason why that shouldn't continue. Brighton will be on the attack, but I fancy that Arsenal's defence will probably be too good for them, so I'm hoping for some decent points from Saliba in that match. First of the 3 o'clocks is Brentford v Southampton. Now I've gone for 2-0 to Brentford. Thought they played well in places against Liverpool last week. Southampton have been beaten 1-0 on both of their opening games. I think Brentford will be too strong at home. And Buemo and Wissa, and if Sade comes back, they look like a promising front 3. I don't really think they're going to miss Tony too much if he does go. Everton 1, Bournemouth 2. Everton have been poor. I mean, I've given them credit for a goal there. That's only through home advantage, I think. I think Bournemouth, Semenyo looked good last week. He was on the radar, 2.9. That's an interesting price. Another striker. You can only fit 3 in. But yeah, I think Bournemouth will be too good. Ipswich 1, Fulham 2. I'm hoping this is where Muniz gets 1 or hopefully 2 goals. He probably won't. If Morsy's in the tackles, at least we've made some progress. Or Robinson, if I bring him in, he's done something for Fulham. I think Ipswich will score, but I think Fulham, I think they'll get their first win. Leicester 1, Aston Villa 3. I think Leicester, again, the crowd was up in their first home match, the Monday Night Football in game week 1. It's kind of a Midlands derby, East v West. Villa, I mean, Watkins could have easily had 2 goals last weekend, couldn't he? I think he'll probably open his account this week. If he does, I think there'll be a lot of people looking to switch maybe Isak for Watkins the following week, maybe. Forest 2, Wolves 0. I thought Wolves were going to beat Chelsea last week. What do I know about it? Hey, they got absolutely walloped 6-2 at home. I think Forest have played well in both of their games. I think they'll get a win here. Past 5 is West Ham against Manchester City. And Manchester City, I think they'll win again. Haaland will probably score again. West Ham a goal could be Bowen. He looks to be doing well. Fulkrug would be interesting to watch. It's a cheap player. If Solanke's got a long-term injury, Fulkrug similar price. Then on Sunday, Chelsea against Palace is at 1:30. I've gone for a 2-0 home win. Palace have been out of sorts. I said that about Chelsea last week, didn't I? But I think Chelsea will win. Palmer, he's big haul last week, and Madueke as well. So both could be on the radar if people have done badly on Saturday. Look to get somebody in, maybe an injury cover, you'll see. Newcastle, I've gone 1-1 against Tottenham. Could have gone higher, I think. I think there'll be goals in this. But Newcastle have struggled a bit. Tottenham, and the last 2 games, I think they've got beat something like 10-1 by Newcastle. Yeah, I've gone for 1-1. Maybe Isak will score. Probably Gordon, though. He seems to be getting back fitter, back better after playing in, well, didn't really play in the Euros, but he had a long break over the summer anyway. And then Manchester United 1, Liverpool 3. I think Liverpool have had Manchester United's number recently. Klopp, he did tend to go on the defence against United in some games. I think Slot, they look comfortable, Liverpool. Won both games. They've won 2-0 and 2-0, same as Arsenal. I think United will probably score. Not quite sure who. They've not really looked all at it. Probably Bruno, to be honest. He seems to be on the back end of most stuff that United do and do well. Liverpool could be any of the front 3. They bought another in Chiesa, I think. They've still got Darwin, still got Gakpo. I mean, that's a nice front 6, that is. So yeah, should be a good watch on Super Sunday. Let's take a look at some ownership compared to points then. see who's scoring the points and earning their place in our sides, and who's up at the top of the ownership charts and is soon going to be shipped on. So, top of the points, Haaland, Romero, Salah, Saliba, all in the high end of the ownership. Lowest of those is Salah, and he must be 35%. Haaland way over 80, Romero nearly 50, Saliba over 60. Raya, well, when we get to the goalkeepers, we'll see that one goalkeeper is higher owned than anybody else and is certainly not cutting any mustard. Saka, he's at about 35%, I think, 36. Cole Palmer, a great weekend last weekend, 35%. So, Welbeck up in the high end, and Madueke not very highly owned. Then we've got Virgil van Dijk. Becker, he's suffering for the same as Raya. I mean, at 4.5 and 4.3, it's only 1.5 more than Henderson. Maybe it is a way to go. Son, he's suffering from forward disease, not enough spots in the team. Guys that scored 17, 16 points. Van Heck's probably the highest owned of those. You'll see as they pop round the screen. He's 16 points and 17% owned. Let's take a look at the goalkeepers in a bit more detail then. Top of the scoring charts, as said, Raya and Becker. Nick Pope next in line, then Edison. So 4 premium keepers at the top of the charts. Then you've got Sells and Steele, Vicario, Onana, Areola, Neto and Flecken. When we get round to the bonus points, we'll see that these guys are doing better than the others. And we keep coming down to, we see Dean Henderson there, 3 points. And we look at the ownership, 41% of us have got Dean Henderson. What are we doing? Well, I think a move is on the cards, but it won't be this week, I don't think. I like the idea of Flecken at 2.9. He's got a good fixture this week, but you've seen by the calendar that's gone through the screen, he doesn't have the best of fixtures in the next set of away games. There's others to choose from, and none of them are high owned. So if you get on any of these guys, you're going to be getting good bang for your buck if they perform. As I say, Raya at 4.3 million, maybe it's not such a bad price. We used to have a thing in Sky where goalkeepers were high point scorers. We don't think they're going to do as well in Cloud, but they're still going to do reasonably well for that kind of price, I think. So if you have a look at defenders, top of the shop, Christian Romero after his almost full house last weekend, and Saliba and Van Dijk and Porro and Van der Ven, Robertson, so premium players there. Maybe not all at premium prices. The Tottenham guys, I mean, fair enough, they've kept clean sheets, they've scored goals, they've got bonus points. Van Heck, as mentioned on the overall, 2.8, very cheap, lots of bonus point potential. Gabriel and Ben White, again from Arsenal. Then you've got Trent and Gvardiol and Kanji and Diaz, all premium defences there. And we look at the ownerships. So Saliba and Romero, way above everybody else. Then you've got the likes of Munoz and Gvardiol in the 20s. High teens, Dunk, Porro, Van Heck, Gabriel. And then you're down to just over 12% for the Liverpool guys of Trent and Virgil. Still got Quanta there at 10%. At least some of that will be coming off on Saturday. Move on to midfielders. Top of the shops. So we've got Saka and Palmer. And then Matoma and De Bruyne. Kovacic still hanging on there from his 13-pointer in game week 1. Then a few guys that have just scored goals, really. Cheaper end. Wobie, Joe Linton, Gibbs White, Paquetá, Tavernier, Partey even with his goal. Basuma scored as well, I think. Smith Rowe definitely did. Souček has. Bruno there is the next in line that hasn't. And he is at the top when it comes to tier points. So the ownerships, Smith Rowe, I mean, nice price. He had that single game day at the start. Decent fixtures still for Fulham. If he keeps performing, keeps doing well, he's going to keep there, isn't he? 3 million is a nice price. Saka and Palmer, they're 36, 35%. Bruno also 35. Eze at 30, Rodri at 30. People wait for him to come back. They're not selling now, I don't think. Declan Rice, 23% of us have got Declan Rice. Gordon and João Gomez, Gibbs White, Bruno F and McAllister, just over 10%. Two problems for my side. And I mean, there's enough people there that have got these guys. Then strikers. I mean, no surprise to see that Haaland's at the top of the ownerships, top of the scoring. But look who's next. Alexander Isak. 7 out of 10 of us have got Isak. And he's nowhere near earning his keep. Is he for the chopping block? Reasonable fixture this week. But there's other guys knocking the door. Ollie Watkins there, 11%. Aston Villa's fixtures well on the turn. Salah still at only just over a third. I mean, Mooney's there, 9%. I mean, the guys that are scoring goals that aren't anywhere near that leadership, as we mentioned again on the overall, Mandueki, Welbeck, Semenyo, Nicholas Jackson. I mean, 1.3% got Jackson. Fatawu, I mean, mainly that's in bonus points. A lot of it tackles, I think, for Fatawu. Interesting. So we'll have a look at the bonus points overall. Christian Romero sitting at the top there with 11. Van Heck and Saliba with 8. I mean, the mix of tackles and passes there. Then here comes Fatawu. Yeah, tackles. Six tackle bonus points. Bruno G earning a place in people's sides there with 7. We've got quite a few Southampton coming next. Jack Stevens, Jay Bednarek, Taylor Harwood-Bellis all got maximum passing tiers, and Stevens has got a tackle tier as well. And then we look at the ownership. There's not too many of those guys in there. Romero and Van Heck, Saliba, yes, Bruno. Robinson is just about sneaking in at the bottom echelons there. Not many others, don't think. Salah and Saka and Gvardiol, but they're on 5, so less than half of what Romero's got. So look at the goalkeepers. As said, we've got Flecken and Neto and Hermansen all on 6 and 5, and they're very similarly priced to Dean Henderson. So I think people have got 2 choices. Well, 3, I guess. You can keep with Henderson, you can move to one of these other guys at the same or similar price, or you can upgrade somewhere to the likes of Raya or Becker. And then with tier points in defence, so we previously mentioned Romero and Van Heck and Saliba, and the Southampton guys. And then a bit further down, you get in the Manchester City defenders, Gvardiol and Akanji. A bit more Tottenham, a bit more Liverpool. Some Chelsea coming in there with Gusto, that's tackle tiers. He does like to get forward. If he can make some tiers, make some clean sheets, they've got good fixtures, Chelsea. Still not entirely sure he's going to be first choice. Konate, as mentioned on midweek matchups, under 4 million. If he keeps his pace on Liverpool side, they've got good fixtures. He outpassed Van Dijk on the weekend. So the midfielders, these where we've got some different names coming in. These are some cheaper end players that are making tier bonuses without really doing much else. So Bruno 7, Casemiro 6, Morsey 6, Sangare 5 with Downs. Saka, he's in the shots and a tackle. He's definitely one that's earning his money, I would say. Wharton and Joe Linton. Joe Linton scored a goal as well, I think, this season. Kovacic, I mean, the great first game wasn't so clever last weekend. And then we're into guys that are onto 4s and 3s. And the people at the ownership, I mean, Smith Rowe, he's earning his money. Then you've got Saka, Palmo, Bruno G, Eze, Rodri. There's some fairly high-owned guys there in the 30s. Rice is the one that looks like it's a problem. Then you've got Gordon scoring goals, João Gomez making tackles, Gibbs White, good run of fixtures for Forest, scoring as well. Bruno F, always sort of a key man for Manchester United. Phil Foden still hanging around in 10% of sides. He was ill last weekend. Is he going to be back this? We shall see. Strikers in the bonuses. So Fatawu, as previously mentioned, is up at the top. I can't see many people going for him, to be honest. You definitely want guys that are going to score goals if they're strikers in this. You've got Haaland and Salah. Brennan Johnson, he's in tackle tiers. Then the rest are just shot tiers for those that have probably scored goals or look like scoring goals. So Son, Madueke, Solanke, he's had lots of shots on target but didn't really trouble the side of the net. Wood scored, Welbeck scored, Muniz hasn't, unfortunately, for me. And then we've got guys down on 3s and 2s. And as previously said, it's all about Haaland and Isak and maybe a bit of Salah and Solanke. Watkins will be making a charge, I assume. So for those that want to support the show, we have a Patreon, patreon.com, Cloudy Sky Fantasy Football Show. 2 tiers on there. Basic tier, cumulative supporter, £2 a month. Just thanks for helping to create and make and run the game. And we have the intermediate tier, £3.50 a month, Stratus Navigator. That's the one that's got the aforementioned transfer planner on. If you want to use the transfer planner, you'll find it quite helpful to navigate the fixtures and the players, because it's not so easy doing everything on the TFF website if you're not used to the scoring. As mentioned on midweek matchups, there's going to be an upgrade to help it on Google Sheets after this game week has finished. That should be ready for everybody when we come back after the international break. Thanks very much for watching, everybody. If you like what you've seen, please give the video a like. If you want to subscribe to the channel to help us out, please do so. Not quite sure what we'll do over the international break, but I'll definitely have something on the go, as well as the aforementioned planner. So whatever you're doing this weekend, whether it be enjoying some football, enjoying some sunshine, enjoying a long queue waiting for Oasis tickets, enjoy yourselves, and we'll see you soon. Bye for now.